lost to ignorance and confusion, 3 men arose from humble beginnings with a message of wisdom and hope for their troubled times. 3 men who would eventually change the very face of humanity. But they fell off a cliff. So, here are some other guys.
It's Song Talk Radio with Bruce, Neal, and Phil.
Welcome to Song Talk Radio with Bruce, Neal, and Phil, episode number 254. This is the show with songwriters talking to other songwriters about, guess what? Everybody? Songwriting. Okay, you've heard that a few times. We share tips, tools, and techniques, and together we make alliterations, and we all become better at writing songs. I'm your host, Bruce Harrett, and joining me are the members of the Song Talk Radio Action Team. Over here, we've got Mr. Phil Emery. How are you, Phil?
I'm frustrated and fed up and sick with the snow. I've had enough snow, thanks.
Oh, it's only been a day.
I know.
Okay, when I was a boy, it was like this all winter.
That's right.
And we've got Mr. Neal Modi in the house.
Yes, I haven't left the house for like 2 days because,
The
snow.
weather.
Yeah.
We're such
Live in an
wimps,
apartment.
you know. We're Canadians, but it snows once. I wore my sneakers.
I don't know. It snowed twice this week already.
I wore my running shoes till the second week of January. It was so dry in Toronto. So
Yeah, that's true.
Come on, man up. Or woman up.
Snow up.
And on social media, we got Vanessa reporting from the home office. He's doing a little bit of that. Working the tech board, we have Mr. Mike.
Good evening.
Michael. And
I walked 20 minutes to work today, just so you know.
yeah, and he is going to help us sound good. During the show, send your comments, questions, and corrections to at Song Talk Radio on Twitter or Facebook, or feedback at songtalk.ca, and we will share them with the audience in real time. And please stop by our website at songtalk.ca to find out how you can be a guest on our show. So tonight we're going to do something a little different. We're going to go very deep into one song with one songwriter. Well, we often have one songwriter. We're going to focus on one song. We're going to look at the conception of the song, the writing process, the stylistic influences, the evolution over time. We're even going to play different recorded versions and parts of the song and sound bites connected to the song. It's kind of a song-a-palooza.
It's very much a case study.
It's a case study. That's
a white
better.
paper, as you will.
It's a white paper.
It's a white paper, that's right.
Well, I don't know if it's that long. But it is a
I
case.
call it a dissection.
Okay.
The dissection?
That would be Linda Lavender, who's our guest tonight. I know what you're thinking. You're going, wait a minute. Linda Lavender does our social media. What is she
And our tech
doing
board.
in the guest chair?
I do it all.
Do it
She
all.
does it all.
Multi-talented.
Do it
So-
all.
She dances, she sings, she does bird calls.
She can swim pretty good, too. And Linda... But Linda Lavender, she is our guest tonight, and she sings apparently from a Canadian backdrop. And
Well, I am Canadian.
Well, and one thing you won't know about Linda is that she planted Ontario forest in her backyard, one of each species. So she
really?
actually has this mixed.
What do you mean one of each species?
Well, she has an evergreen, she has a maple, she has an what do you have?
A birch.
A birch.
Okay, that's
A
3.
white
northern.
pine, a poplar.
Okay, not everyone.
Okay, not each, but quite a few species.
One of a
Yeah.
bunch of different
Do
species.
they actually,
that's cool.
Yeah,
do they actually work together? Sometimes
They're
I
constantly
figure,
arguing.
quibbling, really.
They're equivalent.
quibbling, yes.
They do. They
But
get
I
in each other's
digress.
way sometimes, but yes.
But we digress.
It is a bit of a forest
Well, when
back there.
I did when I started co-writing with Linda, we said, let's just get together. And co-writing, you just start chit-chatting, right? So I said, I really like your house. It's really cool. And she showed me around in the backyard. So we wrote this song called My House. It was a nice song, wasn't it? Yeah.
Lovely.
Anyway, Linda has a distinctive voice, relaxed presence, and a West Coast vibe. Her songs about vinyl stores and vacant lots, robberies and road trips, fist fights and friendships. Alliterative there, very good. End up telling a bigger story about life, love, loss, and a quest for truth. Her music transcends genre as melodies, subtly humorous lyrics, an array of instruments, including what do you have there today? A mandolin, a beautiful mandolin.
yeah.
Hold it up to the microphone so everybody can see it. There we go. These carry the listener past distinctions of country, bluegrass, folk, pop, jazz, screamcore. It's everything. It's Linda's everything. So welcome, Linda.
Thank you.
So what song are we talking about tonight?
I chose to talk about my song, They Won't Catch Me Again,
Okay. And
which is on my album. I have one album that's all professionally recorded. I have lots of recordings, but
Tell them what it's called.
it's called the Rosso Sessions, and it was done with my band Often Running. It was recorded on Lake Rosso.
Lake Rosso's
and
in
my
the Muskoka
cellists.
region of Ontario, just north of Toronto.
My cellist had a cabin up there, and we recorded up there.
So
Fantastic.
how long are we talking about, like the breadth of this song evolution?
So I actually found my pages, the early pages, and I started writing it in 2008. So we're talking
Wow.
about 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And was the final recording was made in 2018? Huh?
No, it was made in 2015, the
Okay.
one that we're calling the final recording here.
Right.
But I play it all the time. I play live quite a bit. And
So even after it was recorded, you still continue to make changes?
it's still kind of
Still
is
evolving?
changing, yeah,
Okay.
because different musicians play on the song, and I like to leave space for them to do things that they like to do. Because right now I'm playing mostly with a fellow, Sam the Shark, who plays electric guitar, like amazing electric guitar. So he plays a whole different kind of sound than what, if I have a fiddle player in the band, it's a very
But
different
you're
kind of
talking on
sound.
an arrangement level, but is the
Yeah.
song itself changing? Like lyrics, chord choices, that sort of thing? Melodies?
Yeah, and I think that's all pretty much solidified at this point.
Okay.
I mean, I would let in little changes that happen in the moment, but
How did it go down in Cairo?
this song,
Yeah.
it went down really well, actually. I had a percussionist,
Yeah.
and he could play on anything. Like he could play from the exotic kind of Egyptian beats that were like a little bit off, syncopated beats. But on this song, he could play a straight kind of a bluegrass sound, and he knew what he was doing, and it was really fun. I
So you
actually
had
have
English-
a little snip of a recording of this song with him playing, which would have been nice if I had brought.
Oh, okay, next
Forgot
time.
about that part.
So they were English speaking then, the Cairo audience, were they? Or they knew enough English to follow you?
The Cairo musicians were English speaking. The Cairo audience, there were a lot of all kinds of nationalities and races. There were a lot of German people and Dutch people at this particular hotel that we played at there.
So take us back to the beginning.
Oh,
Where
yeah.
was this song born?
Well, that would be a good time to play the first soundbite, I guess, because it was born in a car on a road trip. And I met for coffee with my friend who I knew was there. And, we were seeing each other at the time, but we're very good friends now. And he agreed to record this little bit about how the song began.
So I was there at the time of the creation of this song. As I recall, it was at the end of a road trip driving from Andrewsville, which is our last stop, to Toronto. And in the car at the time, besides myself, was Linda and a mandolin and a very large German Shepherd. I might add that Linda was somewhat pissed off with me at the time. The reason why escapes me, but she was definitely not in, let's say, a happy place. Whether or not it's influenced the creation of the song, I can't say, but I think it's a great song. I've always liked the song. And it's nice to recall even dark times sometimes.
So that
So
was
the question I
Bob
have
Burney.
is, what were you mad at him about? Because I bet you remember.
Well, there was a lot of things, but a few things. He hadn't talked to me all day. He was just like painting his cottage, which is in Andrewsville, which has a population of about 38. I think it says on the sign, population 38. So I just continued that into the car and sort of hunkered down with my mandolin and my notebook and started to just work on trying to write a song. And the first couple of lines of the song, I think, are based on that. Lost my heart in Andrewsville. now it's floating down the stream. That actually is what I wrote first, and I think it was kind of like the beginning of the end for us at that. I mean, we're very good friends, and
you got a song out of it.
And there's a great song here, but
this is the thing, if the relationship fails, you get an album usually, depending on the length of the relationship.
yeah, there are a few songs that happened, but this one, my imagination took it over really, because I started to think about the area, and it's a small area. There's a little town called New Bliss, and there's Andrewsville, and those are both in the song. And I just started to think about a character in that area, like a small town, someone who doesn't know their direction, wants to get out, doesn't know where they're going, kind of thing. And I started writing the song, right?
As a woman character.
It wasn't at the time.
Oh.
At the time, it started off as I imagined a young man, like a young male character trying to get out of town. Sort of, influenced by Springsteen songs like...
Where did the sort of criminal element come into this narrative?
Oh, you're giving away. We're not there yet.
Robbing the store,
yeah,
you mean? I guess that just was the story that started coming up in my head, but I think it started coming from a feeling of like being confined and feeling restless and maybe sort of disappointed, or like that sort of general ennui that sometimes sets in. It does for me, anyways, and so I think that I just started writing from this place that wanted to sort of get reckless and be on the run, kind of thing, as opposed to just being on a road trip, just to be on the run.
Right.
So you're very much a traditional country writer. Certainly everything I've heard from you has been very traditional country, because country seems to be very sort of story-based. So you're almost like you're writing more of a novel than, someone sitting down and just talking about their feelings or their, it's like a lot of
narrative.
There's this little soundbite from another person that you could play it right now. It's number 2. Number 2 is the... Go ahead. It's David Shillman.
Because there are lots of songwriters who write songs about themselves. They're very introspective. They're very personal. But that one sounded like it was a story. It's a story song, which you don't hear that much these days. I mean, it was a really common folk technique, I guess, telling stories. But singer-songwriters don't seem to write that type of song so much these days.
Yeah, well, there it is. Yeah. There it is. It is a story song, and that narrative style. Whether it's Bob Dylan or Joni Mitchell, she started one song. I was sitting in a bar in Paris, France, reading the news. Sure looks bad. I was like, okay, this is the start of a story. There she is, right? And it's establishing where.
And I think a lot of Nashville people, they'll write actually from a title. So you didn't start off with a title, though.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the chorus, well, as Bob said, it was all a song. It was all came out in that road trip. Was about like 5 hours to get from Andrewsville to home, and it all sort of came out in that road trip. And
it really sounds like you very quickly moved from the kind of emotional thing you were feeling to this story about, like you said right off the bat, about another character. So you're no longer writing about yourself. You started with the emotion that you were feeling, but you moved that emotion from yourself to another character, which allows you to sort of create a story that is more like a novel, right? Where it's not necessarily about you, but it's about someone that's that just sprang from the things you were feeling.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of songs do that. Like I might start a song about me, but I think that any song that you start to write, I think it becomes a fiction. Just in the writing of it, it becomes a fiction because you can't you're never completely going to be autobiographical in a song. And as autobiographical as you are in a song, it's a piece of art. So really, it becomes a fiction when you write it.
Where is Andrewsville anyway? It's a real place.
It's near Smith Falls.
Okay, Northern
Perth.
Ontario.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, Central Ontario. Okay, Northern Central, near Ottawa, south of Ottawa.
Yeah.
You know, we had our songwriters meet up on the weekend, and Lon, one of our regular members, Lon
Palmer, yeah.
he talked about the Nashville style. They call it furniture. The specifics in the opening verse of a song, and he quoted Chris Christopherson, busted flat in Baton Rouge, heading for the train, feeling nearly faded as my jeans. So we've got he's broke, Baton Rouge, train, and jeans, and a feeling, right? And he calls that the furniture. And we were trying to talk. Everybody was talking about how is it important to have specifics rather than generalities, and you've got that here with Andrewsville, robbed a store. It's real. So
I was always kind of proud of that line, in Old New Bliss, because the town's called New Bliss, but I called it Old New Bliss as part of the sentence. So
you started as right in on the verse there. With Rob Destroyer, started as somebody's on the run from the law. Or was
that's right.
Was he jailed? Sheriff stole away my dreams, helped me get away, but they locked me up in my 20th year and I can't make another day. Is this the time where we hear some of the songs?
Yeah, I was thinking we could probably hear a version, like maybe the first version of the song.
Record it, or are you going to do it live?
Yeah, you could play, which version? I don't have County Museum live, but you could play, why don't you play the song, the final? Play the final song.
Would that be the one marked final?
Yeah, that would.
That's why we use
I
Michael.
believe.
Michael, that's why you're such a great technician.
The obvious.
You're perspicacious.
Yes. All right, here we go.
It's my last lonely ride. See me floating down the stream. I've seen the last page. I've done my time. Somehow I wasted all my dreams. Like a fool was blind when I could have seen. Like a fool I wasted all my dreams. All my dreams. I lost my heart in Andrewsville. Now it's floating down the stream. I robbed a store in Old New Bliss. Sheriff stole away my dreams. That black night I said a prayer. God, please help me get away. But they locked me up in my 20th year. Lord, I can't take another day. They won't catch me again. It's my last lonely ride. If they try to take me back, it's goodbye. I only meant to get some cash, to run away with my sweet love. But the clerk, he called me by my name. I lost control, the gun went off. My baby told me he won't wait. And what a fool to rob that store. If he only knew how I can't wait. My life ain't worth the living for. They won't catch me again. It's my last lonely ride. If they try to take me back, it's goodbye. filled with tears when she saw me in my cell. She said she'd pray to save my soul, but it's too far down the road to hell. They won't catch me again, it's my last lonely ride. If they try to take me back, it's goodbye. No, they won't catch me again, it's my last lonely ride. If they try to take me back, it's goodbye.
And that is They Won't Catch Me Again by Linda Lavender.
A fun song.
Really cool. I mean, it's interesting that it's this kind of sad story of somebody's woman's life going off the rails completely, on the run from the law, jail, but it's got such a great beat. I was just saying as I was listening, that should be a good square dance tune, right? Like, I can. What's your band called?
Often Running.
Often Running.
Yeah.
Playing this band, it's so infectious. You want to dance to it.
Yeah.
So
I was really thrilled when I started playing this with Often Running, because we got a fiddle player in there, and that was Alex Chung on the fiddle, who you know. He's a friend of Michael Thorner's.
Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, he's great.
Yeah, Alex Chung on the fiddle, and that was thrilling to have him playing fiddle on it. And there's a banjo player there too, so it was really it was thrilling to hear the song get filled out that way. You know, because it started off just as a mandolin.
Take us back here. We're kind of in the song. We're still in the car. At least I am. You've written a first draft, and where did it go from there? Where did you develop it when you were back, like years later or months later?
No. When I got back into town, I developed it, and I was playing with a band called County Museum at the time, and we started playing it together. And the way the song was written, it was to come in singing the chorus first. And the recording now, it's changed with influences from different places, like the people in the band and audiences. But we started off with launching into a chorus, which is like, they won't catch me again, it's my last lonely ride. If they try to take me back, it's goodbye. Lost my heart.
Right.
So it launched right in.
You created this lovely free time, jazzy kind of verse. Intro verse.
So that wasn't always there.
That was
That's
lovely.
right.
Did you now play that live? You use this version?
Yes,
live?
the verse is always in there now. The verse is kind of a lot like there's traditional country that'll have a slow verse at the beginning of a song, like Blue Moon.
Yeah.
Do you know Blue Moon by Elvis? Like Elvis popularized it, but it has a slow verse at the beginning.
So was that after you had written a first draft of the song, you decided to put the intro verse in there?
Yeah, way later.
So
that was kind of the last thing.
What sort of spurred on that decision?
To put the intro in?
Yeah.
Just performing it, I think, because I performed it quite a bit, and I started telling this sort of a story about, well, this is here's a song, and this is written by the outlaw that lives inside my head, kind of, and I would elaborate on that more and more, like to the audiences, and it kind of was a way of connecting with the audiences, and then I thought, well, maybe I should just put a little bit at the beginning that kind of talks about, what does that say? It's my last lonely ride, and I've read the last page, and I've done my time. It's kind of it's like an introspective kind of a feeling at the beginning of the song.
You know what this reminds me of is a prologue, and oddly enough, it reminds me of the prologue from Shakespeare. Because Shakespeare had a thing where he would tell the audience the whole story before the play started, just so they get the lay of the land. Like, this is what it's about, it's here. Like the Romeo and Juliet one, two households, both alike in dignity. So he sets the scene. And that's really what you're doing. I love the idea that, and Phil, you talk about this a lot, about developing, by performing, developing new things in a song, by the reaction, knowing when you've got them. Maybe you felt you were talking so much they were starting to lose the energy, and said, why don't I sing that and hook them in with the singing of that prologue What do you think, Neal?
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting choice because if you go from there into the first verse, like if you were to just start the song with the first verse, "Lost my heart in Andrewsville," and that's flowing down the stream, well, I guess you do get to "Robbed a store" right away, but it's kind of like the prologue kind of gives it away to a certain extent. Like we kind of know the gist of what the entire song is about before we even get to verse 1, right? Which
Is
Which is
like
cool,
that? Is
which
that
what
helpful?
Shakespeare did.
Well, yeah, it's just like you're talking about, which is kind of cool because but then you get into the details and things about how it actually happens or that sort of thing. So it is
One of
cool.
my pet peeves with people setting up songs is they go on too long.
Yeah.
Like when I've been coaching performers, I say, look, don't make the intro as long as the song or you're going to lose everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think 20-second sound bites are fine. Like I wrote this song after a fight with my boyfriend on a drive home to Toronto. It took 5 hours. Hit it, boys.
Yeah.
You know, like just hit the key notes and get going, right?
Interestingly enough, I'm not sure how many people really care about those kinds of details.
Right?
You
They may
know,
not
it's
care.
like, we think that they're really important, but for most other people, they're just going, we don't care.
There's a balance point.
Yeah.
I
There's a
think,
balance
of,
point.
of
Yeah.
how long this story is going to be interesting. And
Always pretend that you're in the audience.
yeah,
Always pretend
Right.
that you're
Yeah,
part of it, and always ask yourself, would I care? If I didn't know me and I didn't know anyone, would I really care? And I think you can get away with something once,
Mm.
yeah.
but I mean, unless you're Tom Waits or someone who's just magnetic on stage, you should walk.
So if-
Well, your
if
lead
this
singer
was-
is good about that in your band. Beige Shelter. That was
Yes,
Beige
he's been getting
Shelter.
a lot better about that. And just
Well,
sort
no,
of-
he'll say things like, anybody, I think your wife was giving him some tips. He would ask a question, anybody here been in an unrequited love situation? And
Yeah,
everybody
yeah.
goes, yes. So now you've got them and they're in their
Yeah,
space,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
You're drawing them in. But if he
you have to
starts
watch, but you can only do that once. You do that
Yeah.
like more than once a night, people start going,
Oh,
no,
again.
no, it's an art. It's an art.
But it's an interesting point because you developed that first opening verse after having performed it for a bit.
Yes.
So what about recording it? Does it factor into that as well?
Yeah, well, you know what? It's kind of a way of creating tension and creating a dynamic in the song too, because that slow bit at the beginning, it transitions and it hooks into a kind of a faster beat that I
Yes.
think is nice for dynamics in the song.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sets the quiet and then the contrast and the leap, energetic.
and speaking about contrast,
Speaking of contrast, let's have a word from someone.
hey there, for those of you just joining us. You're listening to Song Talk Radio with Bruce, Neal, and Phil, streamed on songtalk.ca. And tonight our guest is Linda Lavender. Don't forget, we love to hear from you, so why don't you tweet in your thoughts to us at Song Talk Radio. Send us an email at feedback@songtalk.ca. Yes, that is feedback@songtalk.ca. We'll share your thoughts here on the show. And you can find all the links to the products, books, and web services, as we mentioned here on the show, on the resources page. And coming up on the show next week, February 5th, will be White Cowbell, Oklahoma. Cool. And they're awesome. If you ever get a chance to see them live, they just
Screamcore band.
kind of
Nah,
country
not
rock.
really.
February 12th will be Social Media for Musicians with Emmanuel. He's so tips on how to best make social media work for you to help you build your career.
Cool.
And if you're in the Toronto area, please join us for the next Songwriters Meetup on Thursday, February 21st from 7 to 10 p.m. at the Transact Club at Bloor and Brunswick, Bloor and Spadina area.
That's Eric. I think.
It's free to join and free to attend. So it's free, but the beer is not free. Stop by songtalk.ca for the link to the Songwriters Meetup. Back to you, Brucey.
Okay, and over to Neal for the ha-ha of the day.
So our wacky definition, we call it?
Definition.
Definition. So since Linda showed up with a mandolin, I thought I'd look up the definition for mandolin.
All right.
Not in this book, Musician's Dictionary that we have. So we have the definition for lute.
Lute. Okay.
So a lute is a stringed instrument of the medieval and Renaissance periods, resembling a bloated guitar. It was frequently used to provide background music at meal times. It can have as many as 16 sets of strings, most of them in pairs, which are referred to as courses. With 16 courses at mealtime, no wonder it was bloated. It gets its name from the Arabic el-ud, which the meaning of which has until recently eluded musicologists, who are the only ones who would really care anyway. It is now known that the name comes from the practice of using this instrument to accompany lewd songs.
There you go. So I want to ask you as a country music person, because a lot of modern country now sounds kind of like modern pop, because they're doing the stuff with, they have like these finger snaps, there's like a very consistent beat, like the bass drum on 1 and then like a finger snap on 2 and then a bass drum on 3, and then it's almost like kind of like the new sort of rhythm and blues, kind of Shawn Mendes stuff. What do you think of that?
New country now?
Yeah.
I'm
Not a big fan.
I'm not that much of a country person that you're thinking, because like I started off as a folk, like listening to Joni Mitchell and Gordon Lightfoot, and then pop, and then where I come into country world was when the alt country guys came along, like Steve Earle, Lyle Lovett, and Dwight Yoakam, and I love those guys.
Those are amazing.
One of the things I loved about them was that they harken back to real traditional country music and roots music.
Yeah.
And they talked about that, and it showed in what they were doing. And the writing was super important to them too. So at that point, pop had kind of infiltrated country music, and it was not in a good way. No. So those guys brought it back, I think, back on track.
What exactly did they harken back to?
Well, Dwight Yoakam, covered Buck Owens, and Buck Owens was an artist in the 40s who did, country music.
Revitalized the old style country, right?
Yeah.
Brought it back.
Yeah.
But you also mentioned some influences here in the bluegrass tradition, right? So the bluegrass, is that the sound when you bring a violin like that, when you bring a fiddle in, it starts to sound like that?
Bill Monroe's called the father of bluegrass, and he kind of discovered and popularized a style of music that was basically string band music with an acoustic steel string guitar, a banjo, a fiddle, maybe, and he played mandolin. But he played other things too.
So who would our younger audience, would they know, like Alison Krauss or Bella Fleck? These are bluegrass.
Alison Krauss, yeah. She started off as a bluegrass violinist, and she's a bluegrass singer, and now she's crossed over to the pop world and done an album with Robert Plant, and so she's moved it, and of course Bella Fleck started off as kind of a whiz kid banjo player in the bluegrass world, but has brought in all kinds of different like influences from alternative music and a progressive style of music, and then he's reverted back. Now he's got a wife who plays old time music, and they tour together. So Bella Fleck, and Chris Thiele is considered the best mandolinist on the planet, and he also does very eclectic styles. He did a crossover concert where he played the Brandenburg concertos and his own compositions on mandolin as well.
Let's move along here, because I'm seeing your notes here. You've got a couple clips here from neo-traditional showman, is it? So is there a bit of a clip of a song we could play, or a part of a song to illustrate that style?
Yeah, let's play a part of Tony Rice doing Little Sadie. Little Sadie's a great old-time, like, traditional song.
What clip number is that, Linda?
It's clip number 4. And
how does this relate to your song?
Well, it's an influence, and it also it's a murder ballad.
Okay,
and it's about a guy who, like, this. It's a story song,
right? Okay,
that's what we're illustrating here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's have a listen.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Live.
Shot her down. I went back home. I got into bed with a 44 pistol under my hand. up the next morning about 9:30. Axe and the buggy stall standing in line. Jets and gamblers standing around, carrying little Sadie to a burial ground.
Well, that certainly gives you a feel for that style, you know, the murder and the gun under the pillow. I'm really curious about something you told me earlier that, and this is, I think, interesting for our listener. What did you leave out? And you left out this whole verse, which goes like this. As a child, I never dreamed I'd steal or shoot, as I have done. Now I'll take the plunge at Springfield Gorge if I escape the lawman's guns. Going to commit suicide, is that it?
Yeah.
Thelma and Louise thing going on there.
So why did you take that out? I'm curious.
Well, I felt like it was getting too long. I didn't want to make a long song. I wanted to make one that was like listenable, and I also feel like the other verse is stronger. The one I left in is stronger, where it says, "My mother's eyes filled with tears."
Oh, yeah.
So was it really a choice between those two verses for you?
It was between those two, yeah.
Okay.
So
You said this one's didactic, which it was. I never dreamed I'd steal or shoot. I did it. I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, the mother bringing the emotions, wonderful.
that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yes.
I didn't find that. I wouldn't have found that didactic.
No?
No.
It's still storytelling. It's
Story.
still
that's true.
It's not like you shouldn't
No,
kill
but
or shoot or whatever. But
she keeps saying that she's going to end it all
Yeah.
in the chorus, so it's enough, right? We know that already, right?
yeah,
It was the first thing to go, this verse, really, just because, I think it's a lot better to take out things that are not necessary, and I
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
feel like it furthered things enough to leave it in.
Yeah.
So how long was that verse there?
Like just till the end of the road trip, and then I
Oh,
took
really?
it out like
Okay,
shortly
okay.
after.
You were
So
prolific
it was
on
a
that
quick,
road
it was a
trip.
quick change.
Yeah, that was the first change.
Do you generally overwrite a song? I mean, you write it too long so you can edit?
Oh
Or-
yeah,
Yeah?
I generally write way too much and way too many I's and he's and she's and
Ands and the.
and putting it in sentences where it comes off way better if it just like I eliminate a lot of that, the I or the.
Well, as long as you're conscious of that, you can. I mean, to me, it's always easier to write too much and then strip it back than to
Yeah.
try and invent verse 3. Where you're like, oh, I don't want to talk about it anymore, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like to fill blank space is harder than to take something and strip it back.
It's hard, but it's hard to know what to strip back too when you've written it
Yeah.
and what's important. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah, it can.
It even takes years sometimes before you know exactly what you need to strip back to make it
Did you bounce this song off anybody?
I was going to ask, do you have a
Feedback?
collaborator who would tell you what to take out? Or hint at it?
At the time, I was collaborating quite a bit with the one of the other band members from Off and Running, Scott Rogers, and he was really ruthless and really good at taking at saying like you don't need that word. It still gets across with that word, and so that worked out really well.
We got a tweet in from Sharon. Funny that songwriter talked about furniture in lyrics. Furniture music is a term for live background music. The word also is used for horse harnesses, ship's masts and rigging, builders' hardware like locks, wood used in letterpress printing. It's a busy word.
Yes, it is.
Wow.
So not to mention the stuff you put in your living room.
Well, that's true, actually. But in printing, the furniture is the stuff you put around the blocks of type to hold it in place.
Right, because the verb
right.
furnish means to provide.
Isn't there that little restaurant close to the Transac on Bloor Street, the furniture warehouse?
Yeah.
What do they call it? Where everything's $5.
El Cheapo Warehouse or something.
But they have furniture, which I found really odd for a restaurant. They're putting the name furniture in their restaurant name.
Well, yeah, I think it was kind of retro, like an old used furniture place, but anyway.
Or maybe it's one of these
food
other
at a
obscure
cheap
uses
price.
of the word that we.
Yes.
I wanted, since we're breaking here for just a second, I wanted to mention I had supper last night with one of the former guests on our show, and this is a tip for you songwriters out there. One day, we broadcast here from a radio station, and out in the waiting room, in the office rather, there are piles of CDs that people have sent in. Well, one day I was flipping through them, and I saw this one for the Scenic Sound, and I thought, that's an interesting name.
I remember them.
And I pulled it out. I went home and listened to it, and I shared it with my partners on the radio show, Phil and Fred. Was it Phil? Phil and Ernie.
Who the heck is Ernie?
Neal. Anyway, he had to remind me that I had dinner with Tim Stead last night, who was the leader of that band, who's now gone on into marketing. He's not doing the road trips anymore. But he reminded me that you found our CD and called us. So guys out there, still send your songs, whether it's a CD or it's an electronic copy. Let radio stations know that you have music, because they can't play them if they don't know about them, right?
Absolutely.
We should do a show on that.
Well, we've actually done a show on that.
Did
now
we?
that you mentioned, yeah.
How did
a
it
while
go?
ago.
Was I there?
You were there.
Okay. I hosted it.
He's
Thank
having.
you.
Which one was that?
That was
that the
about
Simba thing?
getting your name out in the press.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about airplay on the radio.
That's what it.
Well,
that's where
that's
also
part
where you
of
do
it.
it.
That's
Yeah.
part of it.
That too.
If you are going to do that, though,
Yeah.
do not just send it to anyone. Find an actual name at that the newspaper or the radio station. Send it to them specifically with an intro, because otherwise you just.
And I think we were talking about like community-based radio mostly.
Well, I
right?
would like to have Alyssa as a guest on the show. She's program director. She writes up the playlist, the hit list that goes out on to Ryerson University, right?
Yeah.
So a good question for her is, how does someone get on the list? How to get played on the radio here? Because we've had a couple guests. Remember that young guy? I can't remember. Anyway, we've had a couple guests who got airtime on Ryerson Radio simply by being on our show and then submitting the song.
Yes,
right?
of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to Linda.
So what other like big changes have occurred in the song over the years?
Changing the verse to the start and not having it start out on the chorus was a big one. Adding the slow part at the beginning, the intro. Changing the protagonist from a male to a female was huge.
Oh, right. Okay.
Actually.
So let's talk about that.
I was having a conversation with a friend, like an old friend, about this song and music in general. And he, when we got to this song, he said, "Well, why do you sing it from a male point of view?" I think we were talking about singing songs from a male point of view or the opposite gender point of view. And well, why do you sing that from the male point of view? And I'm like, I don't know. It was a male character in my mind, but he said, "Why don't you try it the other way?" And I did, and I found that it was really. I only have to change really one lyric. In the whole
look
thing.
at the lyric going. It's pretty gender independent for the most part.
It is. The lyric is.
My baby told me he won't wait.
Yeah, that's it.
So there used to be she won't wait?
She won't wait.
Okay,
yeah.
so you're assuming heteronormative relationships here.
I am.
It wasn't a lesbian killer.
It wasn't a lesbian killer?
But
interesting.
It was
Monster?
way
What was that
more.
movie? Yeah.
I connected way more with the song too.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it just became better as a performance too when I started using it as for it being a female, and also that people were surprised to hear it from a female point of view, to hear the whole situation from a female point of view.
Yeah.
An interesting experience is when you're working with a song like this, is to play around with pronouns. So instead of saying it's I, you could talk about, like your boyfriend who's doing that and lost his heart, and and it's kind of like he's leaving on the midnight train to Georgia. Which of course was initially called Midnight Train to Houston, but we'll talk about that some other time.
We've talked about that before.
Yes. So that could be an interesting thing to experiment too, because that kind of changes the emotional.
Yeah, like if you turn this
text,
whole thing into a she and her instead of the I.
It's true. I rarely write songs that way. I don't know if you do, Phil, but I don't know how many, if I've ever.
A third person, you mean?
James. I had a song called
yeah.
James that's written in the third person. It's about somebody that I actually did know, but rarely.
Yeah.
But it's I like writing songs that way. And that would be a good challenge, actually, to write a song in the third person.
So was the gender change thing something that happened much later again?
It happened somewhat later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm only asking because, if you perform a song a certain way for like a long time and then someone suggests a change, you're probably very reticent to change something at that point, right?
Yeah.
Especially if it's ingrained a certain way already.
Yeah. It's hard to train yourself to perform it without
That's the other thing,
slipping into the automatic performance of that song. But actually, Sam, who I play with a lot, says, like, why don't we record this one again? Because we're going to go into record it in February with Nick Blagona in Hamilton, outside of Hamilton, Caledonia. And he's kind of a rock guy. He comes from a rock background. He recorded like Deep Purple and
the Police and
the Police.
I worked with him. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, and so he said, why don't we do a different kind of recording of They Won't Catch Me Again with the way we do it, Sam and I do it. And I actually have a clip of that too, if you want to play, get that lined up.
So was this like sort of a pre-production demo type thing, or?
No, this is a final version of the song, but it's still, I'm not averse to doing a completely different version of the song.
So is this what you recorded with Nick?
No, this is just Sam and I playing the song, and it's just a little bit different. 8, yeah.
All right.
Yet it's my last
Let's use the numbers.
lonely ride. See me floating down the street. I've read the last page and I've done my time. Somehow I wasted all my dreams. Like a fool was blind when I could have seen. Like a fool I wasted all my dreams. All my dreams. I lost my heart in Andrewsville. Now it's floating down the stream. I robbed a store in Old New Bliss. Sheriff stole away my dreams. That black night I said a prayer. God, please help me get away. But they locked me up in my 20th year. Lord, I can't take another day. They won't catch me again. It's my last lonely ride. If they try to take me back, it's goodbye. I only meant to get some cash to run away with my sweet love. The clerk, he called me by my name. I lost control, the gun went off. My baby told me he won't wait. And what a fool to rob
that was another version.
So I'm a bit confused. So you played a final version of this song.
Yes, but it's never really truly ever final.
Okay, and that one was off
it'll
your
always
album.
change. That the version we played earlier is off my album.
So next year
with
they're going to
Off
do the
and
dance
Running.
remix.
Right. So you're going to do another version with Nick, is that right?
We're toying with the idea of
Okay.
doing a version with Nick.
So is this version that you were just playing, was that different than the final version?
Yes, it was different.
Okay, how is it different?
It's just me playing my guitar and Sam doing backup and backup vocals.
So the instrumentation was
arrangement.
different.
Instrumentation and arrangement.
But the
is
song
different.
was the same, like the
Yeah.
lyrics in the song.
Yeah.
And, okay.
And
So it's just the arrangements.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And because when you said Nick's more of a rock guy, because there's a bit of a swing feel to this thing, right? And I just wondered if you got together with some producer that would actually push you to play it in a straight beat, that would mutate the groove a little
Well,
bit.
we would add drums to this song,
yeah.
and that would probably change a lot. Which will be it'll be an album with drums on it. This album coming up.
Has this ever happened for you guys, Phil or Neal, where you've had a song and it's evolved over time, or did you just get sick of it?
Yeah, that's the best thing about working in a band, is that you'll come in with a song that you've often worked very hard on, and you've explored lots of possibilities as I've always done. Mm-hmm. And then like the drummer will say, "Oh, why don't we extend the chorus like 2 lines or something?" And you'll go, "That's the stupidest idea. What a piece of crap." And then you do it and you love it, and it's the most amazing thing. And I've had it where the drummer goes, "Nah, let's go back to the old way." I'm going, "No, you can't. That was so much better because, that's the thing about collaboration is people. There's no point in collaborating with people who already do what you do, right? There's no point in that because that's
contrast.
Yeah, what you need is people who do something totally different that you go, "Well, that's stupid," because that's how you get the really amazing things, stuff that you never would have thought of. And you go, "Oh, yeah."
You're in a band, Neal.
Yeah, I've had that happen with one song I brought to the band. They sort of, I think it was our guitar suggestion that they take the last line of the verse and extend it double. Like it was like 2 bars. They extended it to 4 bars just to add a little more tension before the chorus. And I was like, sure, that sounds good. Let's play it out, see how it works, and it works good. But I was just thinking on my own side, I wrote a song a while back that I started off with a lyric, and I gave myself permission to do like a bad first draft, and it was a really bad first draft. I absolutely hated it, and I sat on it for a while, and I was like, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? And it sort of pointed me in the direction that I didn't want to go. So I sort of kept the same idea, but then wrote a completely new song, and that's the one that I ended up using it. So that to me was like, give yourself permission to do that bad first draft, and at least to give you an idea of what you don't want, and then that can focus the idea of what you actually do want.
Well, the input is so important. I mean, I wrote a song called Caroline, which I've played on the radio show here, and I took it to a producer in Toronto to do a demo, basically, and when I first wrote it, and he said, that last verse of yours is really depressing. Are you that lacking in hope for the world? And, it was like a dark, dark song. I said, no, I'm actually quite optimistic. Are you suggesting that maybe I should be optimistic? He said, well, no, not optimistic, but just if you didn't intend to write a really down, depressing song, then see what you can do. And I wrote a different verse, and I liked it a lot better. And his take on it was different than when I went to Vancouver and then recorded it for my album. I was working with session players, and they brought this different feel to it, right? A kind of acoustic guitar feel to it. And then the final thing I wanted to say is I brought it to play live on the show here, and somebody said, "How about an E minor there? An E minor before you go to the A minor?"
So we did a chord substitution thing.
It was a 2-chord song, A minor G, and then the E minor came in. Now I played it the other day, and it sounds way better. So listen to your friends.
Well, and it's I think if you are going to do any kind of recording, what you want to do, and a lot of bands won't do this, is they call it pre-production, whereas like you basically record yourself many times playing the song, try different tempos, try different approaches, because you want to do that before you get into the studio where you're paying by the hour.
Absolutely.
Gets expensive,
Yeah. Oh, it's worth so much to have good collaborators. Even one good collaborator who can give you some perspective into what you've just written. As a songwriter, I try my songs out on anybody who'll listen. And
that's the great thing about the Songwriters Meetup is you get to play your songs to other songwriters.
But you have to remember not to take it all to heart, too.
Yeah.
You have to really pick and choose the feedback.
You've alluded to this a few times in tonight, Linda, where a song is never really done. Even if you record it, there's still potential there for it to continue to evolve. And I think that's a healthy mindset.
Well, some great artist once said a professional painter knows when to stop. The amateur doesn't.
Yeah, that's true.
Because the professional goes, well, that's fine
it's
for now. It's done.
It's hard to know when things are done.
Exactly.
And I think that's
the other cool thing about songs is that it's so inexpensive to rewrite them.
That's true.
Like if you shoot a film and you think, I think I'll do that scene differently. Talking $50,000, but
right.
A song is a little piece of writing with a guitar. Maybe you can evolve over time.
Well, the interesting thing, that's a big thing that Disney taught Pixar is that Disney they'll do the movie and they'll screen it and they'll sort of say, you know what? The ending doesn't work. And with WALL-E, they actually completely redid the ending of WALL-E, which was a lot of work, but they actually changed it so that WALL-E was actually I don't know if WALL-E was the protagonist or, anyways, they switched it up to what it was now because they they saw it didn't work. So don't be afraid to tweak your own stuff to make it better, you know?
Yeah.
'Cause,
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah,
depressed
nothing's
after seeing that
precious.
movie. I don't know why.
Really?
Well,
Because it was so post-industrial disaster.
So wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Anyway, save that for another show.
Is that the band I hear, Michael?
It is.
The band is here.
Yeah,
It is,
okay.
it is.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think they want to go home.
already it's we have to leave you for this episode of Song Talk Radio. We of course Song Talk Radio with Bruce Neal. I feel that's our brand. Special thanks to our talented guest, Linda Lavender.
Thank you, Linda.
Yeah.
Thank
Great
you.
She
Thank
social
you.
medias.
This has been
She does
really
tech.
interesting.
She swims.
She does it all.
She dances, she sings.
So where can our listeners find out more of your music, Linda?
LindaLavender.com, and I have a Facebook page called Linda Lavender Music. That'll
And
give
it's
you enough
LINDA.
information. Yeah.
Send us your impressions via Twitter at Songtalk Radio. Email is feedback@songtalk.ca. Facebook and YouTube at Songtalk Radio. Stop by the site, songtalk.ca. Subscribe today to the Songtalk Radio podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or Stitcher.com. Don't forget to sign up for our free newsletter at songtalk.ca. You can find links to all the products, books, and web services we mention on Songtalk Radio on our resources page at songtalk.ca. And another reminder, if you're in the Toronto area, join us at the next Songwriters Meetup Thursday, February 21st at 7 p.m. at the Transact Club. I believe it's Eric's turn to host that one. Yeah.
Quite possibly.
Okay. It's free to join on meetup.com. Free to attend the meetup. Stop by songtalk.ca to find the link to the Songwriters Meetup. Thanks, Vanessa, who's on home duty tonight on the social media. Thanks to Michael for doing the tech board thing.
Thank you, Michael.
Hey, Michael.
And most of all, we'd like to thank you, our loyal listeners. You can follow me at bruceharrett.com, 2 R's and 2 T's.com. Sorry, Neal at,
NealModi.com.
and Phil,
You can follow me at the Phil Emery on Twitter.
and Linda again.
You already know where to follow me. LindaLavender.com is
Well, it's worth repeating.
where to start.
And Vanessa's at Sunny_Vanessa.
And Michael doesn't want to be followed.
I am in witness protection. Thank you.
Don't tell everyone that.
He's on the run from the law.
Oh, sorry about that. I didn't know.
Stop by the website at songtalk.ca to browse past shows and find out how you could be a guest on our show. Keep on writing.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
Okay, we'll do the quibble again.
I don't know what the quibble was. I can't back quibble.
Oh, you're
We
thinking.
need better.
He thinks
we need
that
better writers,
might
I think.
sprinkle us into the podcast, or
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah,
We're gearing up.
We're just gearing up. We're waiting here.
It may not have the same dynamic
Thank
energy
you. As the rest of the show. Yeah.
That's true.
Well, I wanted to share that I had to walk almost 100 feet.
100
That would
feet.
be 30 meters to the train through snow.
Yeah.
Okay, it took 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
That wasn't
Is that
easy.
unusual that you would walk
No.
so
I
far?
live
Or is
beside
that
a train station on purpose, right beside the High Park train station.
Yeah, you're very close.
I chose that because I never wanted to take a bus again.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's always the buses.
Taking a bus to the subway is a sucker's bet, baby.
I was up at Don Mills and Eglinton last night for about a half an hour waiting for the Don Mills bus. And of course it was a terrible snowstorm. But
Yes.
it kept recalculating. It would say 10 minutes,
Yeah.
9, 12, 11,
27,
9,
13
12.
13 days.
We don't know. Why don't you
Spring.
just say no idea?
2025.
March 21st.
It's a good thing we're documenting weather and transit talk.
Yeah.
In Toronto? No.
No.
Canadians don't do this at all.
This is small talk, Michael. It's very important to learn
It's
small
very
talk.
small
I
talk.
see.
Yeah.
This is tiny talk.
Yeah.
When you go out on a date, you have
talk.
to do this for the
This
first
is,
few
this
minutes.
is less than quibbling.
Yes.
What does it even mean, quibble? Someone look that
I'm
up.
not sure.
Quibble.
It's the word of the night,
It's,
though.
it's the word of the night. I'm going to be sprinkling that word all over.
Oh, I've got a word of the night.
to be
I like that
contrary
quibble you had in your
petty
song there,
things?
Linda.
One of the participants in
musical
the
term.
Sunday Songwriters Meetup said that I was perspicacious.
Really?
Is that right?
What does that mean?
Wow.
Extremely insightful and perceptive.
Did you quibble with her?
Him.
Him?
A quibble is a slight objection or criticism about a trivial matter.
Yes.
Right.
Don't be trivial.
That's what I said.
That's right.
Yeah,
But when we play this back, you'll hear that I'd already said.
That's right.
Does everybody turn
Maybe
their
I'll
phone
edit
off?
that out. No one will
But
know.
so far, Linda's the only one who's used quibble properly.
Well, I
Did
think
you
that
quibble
was-
with that?
I would
That
not
was
quibble
fun,
with
yeah.
the
I
perspicacious.
was confirm. I wasn't quibbling. I
Like
was
to say that
That's
your
a
song has a
quibble,
quibble, that makes no sense at all.
I was confirming, not quibbling. It's a very different thing.
Yes. Confirming would be different than quibbling.
Sounds like something you feed the dog.
quibble. Bits and bites and quibbles.
You from Purina. Quibble dog food. when your dog objects to the
That's it.
wet kind.
That's it. I'm inventing
When
a
your
breakfast
dog
cereal
is
called
sick
Quibble.
of eating its own poo.
I once had to sell Minty Bones dog food. It
Minty Bones?
cleans your pet's teeth as he chews. Or she chews. Crazy.
Well, yeah. Who wants their
Dogs.
dog's teeth to be clean? That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. But I just thought, I think they actually
Why wouldn't
spend.
you want your dog's teeth to be clean?
Hashtag sarcasm.
Oh, he was being sarcastic.
Which way?
Well, he said it was crazy, and I said, well, yeah, that is crazy. Who would actually want their dog's teeth to be clean? That's
You
nuts.
do want
That's
your
absurd.
dog. Yeah, because they
but you do
smell
want
bad.
Hashtag sarcasm.
Well, and you want them to smell minty, fresh.
Yes,
I'm not sure
you
about
need to
that.
do
when they come and lick
hashtag
your
everything
face.
because that makes
Hashtag quibble.
Probably
Hashtag
makes your
annoying.
dog's breath smell like
Hashtag
dog
dog's
breath
breath.
and mint together.
Yeah, nice. But it was.
Hashtag.
Yeah, I earned money doing that. I earned good money doing that.
You
Can't
earn
quibble
money
with
doing
that.
Very
No.
strange.
Can't
things.
quibble with that.
See how many times we use quibble in this show.
You're quite perspicacious. aren't
All
you?
right, 2 minutes to the actual show.
I could talk about my this growth I have on my elbow.
Oh, please do.
Maybe I'll
Is
save
it a
that
cyst?
for the radio show. No, it's called a
a nubbin.
A quibble?
it's synovial fluid goes in and it puffs up and it's got and it has to be drained.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I'll think of the word later.
How does such a thing occur?
Naturally,
Isn't that
apparently
a cyst?
unnaturally,
Isn't that the
naturally.
definition of a cyst?
But it's not a cyst. It's got another name. I'll get back to you on that. But anyway, it's just it's obviously got fluid in it. And you can feel it, but it's a little sore when you put your elbow down. But apparently, it doesn't seem to have had any trauma, and it doesn't seem infected. So those are all good. But they are going to take an X-ray of it. So
Yeah.
Is it
We still not take a
contagious?
biopsy. Is it contagious?
Horribly contagious.
Just don't knock your elbows together. That's all.
Don't touch my elbow.
I got to boil that microphone.
It's on my elbow, not my face.
All right.
We don't know if you
so
touch your elbow to the microphone.
Let's have a great show, everyone.
Well, we just
Oh, there's
bust
an
a few
echo.
membranes
There's an echo.
there.
I know the thing resonates
There's
like
total.
Oh, it's resonating this way. Which
Try
is,
putting some tape on it.
On what? This?
What? Are you gonna
No.
cover the whole
You
thing
put it
in
on the-
tape?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll put my sweater over it because it is echoing over here. I can hear it.
Okay.
It's
You're a
this
drummer,
side
you're
that's
supposed
It's
echoing.
like a very rudimentary
I always point
reverb
that out.
device.
We never take it out of the
That's right.
room.
Well, Linda needs it. She's a special guest, special needs. I mean, a special guest.
Special needs.
Special Olympics.
She's a special needs
Yeah,
In
that's
15
it.
composer.
seconds.
That's
Okay, we're
me.
going live in 15.
Special needs composer. Somewhere.